It's the crust. The crust! That's why I can't stop eating the Celeste pizza. Mama Celeste has made it even more delicious. It's not too crispy, not too chewy. It's just perfect. Oh, I can't help myself. But Mama says to me, Giuseppe, you should leave some of my Celeste pizza for other people. Okay, I cut down to 1 slice a day.
Celeste, great pizza from topping to bottom.
How can you have a home-cooked meal without being home to cook it? Easy, with the rival crock-pot slow cooker. From simple soups to gourmet meals. Be creative. There's an endless number of delicious possibilities. The crock-pot slow cooker with removable stoneware. Yeah, now you're cooking.
Speed calling lets you dial those important numbers fast and accurately, and it's so easy even a child can do it.
Hi, Mom. We got out of school early today, and Mrs. Gilbert isn't here yet. It's okay, Mom. She's here.
Get speed calling from Bell of Pennsylvania and Diamond State Telephone.
Steak bones come from steak, and dogs love them.
Bones come from Purina. They're a snack for dogs, and they look so much like steak bones you can hardly tell the difference.
Yeah, but steak bones are delicious.
So are bones. They've got a soft little beef-flavored center dogs are crazy about, like a real bone.
Well, steak bones are hard and good for his teeth.
Bones are too, and they last a long, long time, so dogs can really enjoy that great bones taste.
So dogs like bones like dogs like bones.
Maybe even more.
The Supreme Court handed down its first decision right here when Philadelphia was capital of the United States. Our first Chief Justice, John Jay, left the High Court because he doubted it would ever have any lasting influence. But the court would find its voice and find it in John Marshall. As Chief Justice, Marshall considered the court the guardian of our Constitution. In Marbury versus Madison, he established the right of the court to decide whether federal laws are constitutional. This solidified the court's power and strengthened our constitutional rights. In tribute to Marshall on his death, the Liberty Bell rang all day in Philadelphia and celebrated a constitution for the people. I'm Jim Gardner. "39 men signed the Constitution. Their descendants are in Philadelphia today. Last night, the city hosted a party for 600 descendants of those 39 signers. 39 of them took part in the actual We the People parade today. Action News reporter Karen Friedman talked to a descendant of one of the signers of this unique document and visits his historic house in Chestnut Hill.
This is Balleroy, a memorable mansion tucked away on a tree-lined street in Old Chestnut Hill. Inside lives George Gordon Meade Easby, the rather eccentric but charming proprietor who's a direct descendant of former Pennsylvania Governor Thomas Mifflin. Mifflin signed the Constitution. Because of Easby's interest in his roots, he's collected and displayed every conceivable category of valuables, including an original poem written by Benjamin Franklin, one of 2 platters in the world, once owned by King of France Louis Philippe, and a set of sterling silver loaned to the White House for special occasions. But perhaps the most impressive items in this 30-room manor viewed only by candlelight are Mifflin's dining room chairs and flat silver used at the Constitutional Convention. Signer Robert Morris's watch is also prominently displayed in a second-floor bedroom right above Emperor Napoleon's cream pitcher.
Well, the chairs were originally in the White House. And then at the time of when Mifflin was governor, the British were going to march on the White House and burn it. So he decided to bring them to Philadelphia and save them, and they never went back.
Not only are the items you've been looking at from the past, but I'm told this house is also filled with ghosts. People began seeing the apparitions in 1968, 6 years after Easby's mother died, and on numerous occasions, ghost matter known as ectoplasm has been photographed. Easby thinks that helps explain what happened when he went to sleep one night.
I felt somebody grab my arm in bed, and I felt the pressure of someone on the bed. And I thought, oh, this is it. I lighted the light, nothing. No one was there. But the next morning, my arm was black and blue.
But not even psychics or seances held in these very rooms have revealed who the spirits are.
We really don't know. We have a theory that might be my mother just checking on things. And do we know whether they might be the spirits of the signers whose things are here?
I'm Karen Friedman, Channel 6 Action News at Balleroy.
We are back with Temple Law Professor Burton CAINE. Professor CAINE, we just spent a few minutes talking with Jesse Jackson about the Bill of Rights. Every school child knows that in a democracy, the majority rules. But in fact, the Bill of Rights are meant to protect the interests of the minority or individuals against the will of the majority. Philosophically, that almost sounds undemocratic. But obviously it's not.
No, it may very well be undemocratic. As a matter of fact, Alexander Hamilton was not at all a Democrat. He was afraid of the popular will and wanted to curb it because he understood, as Alexis de Tocqueville understood a generation later, that one of the greatest dangers in a democratic country is the tyranny of the majority. That is, we do not vote in the United States whether an individual has a right to speak or pray or have a fair trial. Those are absolute rights against the majority. And in fact, they have to be against the majority for them to be rights at all, because otherwise we'd never need those provisions. So that the Bill of Rights, under that theory, is clearly not only not democratic, is anti-democratic, was designed to be anti-democratic, because it was designed to make sure that minorities were to participate in the blessings of liberty under our constitutional system.
Okay, in this changing world, the Bill of Rights will pay and play an enormous role in deciding some extremely controversial issues over the next number of years. It seems clear that the Supreme Court of the United States will, in one manner, shape, or form, take up the issue of abortion again. AIDS testing, drug testing, technological bioengineering, pollution. How will the Bill of Rights, approved in 1791, attack and approach and accommodate these very contemporary and futuristic issues?
It all depends whether you read it liberally, as I believe the Founding Fathers intended it, so that it would apply to all those problems which will come as the nation's history unfolds. If you do that, you apply general principles such as a right of privacy, for example. The government may not invade the marital bedroom, for example. The government may not prescribe the way you have sex. The government may not say that you must or must not use contraception. Those are decisions which are left to us as individuals, and the government may not interfere.
Now, you have just described yourself as a liberal legal scholar, and we should say that you're president of the American Civil Liberties Union in Philadelphia, which certainly does put some kind of a label around your neck. But just Judge Bork would have an entirely different interpretation. You mentioned the right of privacy. He would say that nowhere in the Constitution of the United States or its amendments is the word privacy even mentioned. So why do we then resort back to that amendment to protect all the social functions and sexual functions that individuals want to partake in?
For the simple reason that I think in any humane society it is basically unfair to allow the government to invade such a private province of the human personality. Even Judge Bork would agree that the Due Process Clause of the Constitution, which simply says the government shall not be unfair, has some application, otherwise it would be superfluous. The people who wrote our Constitution didn't put in things which are meaningless. The way you read Judge Bork's philosophy, he would read out entirely those grand provisions of the Constitution which are the glory of the American system, not only here, but throughout the entire world. I've been giving lectures on the Constitution in various countries in the world. They are frightened to death that this country is going backwards in the protection of human rights because they benefit as much from those rights as we do, and America provides the model.
Professor CAINE, thank you very much. We'll continue our coverage of Constitution Day in just a moment.
It's the crust. That's why I can't stop eating the Celeste pizza. But Mama Celeste says, Giuseppe, leave some for other people. Okay, I cut down to 1 slice a day.
Celeste, great pizza from topping to bottom.
I got a dog named Ziggy Zamboni. What he won't do to get a pepperoni. Pepperoni, pepperoni.
Kennel-ration pepperonis. Jerky snack sticks made with real meat.
Pepperoni, pepperoni.
We tried to make our Heinz home-style gravy just like your homemade.
Oh, really?
We made it with real beef and beef juices, just the way you do.
Oh, yeah?
We even seasoned and simmered and stirred it till it was like your own homemade.
Well, it's close.
Oh, yeah? Where are the lumps? Oh, no.
Heinz Homestyle Gravy, so close to homemade.
Frank Rizzo knows how to get things done. Even in tough times, he moved Philadelphia forward. He did it by attracting a leadership team that gave Philadelphia 18 new office buildings, 5 new hotels, the expansion of 8 hospitals, a commuter tunnel, and 5 neighborhood shopping centers.
Philadelphia can have a bright future if we make the right decisions and exercise leadership.
Frank Rizzo. Leadership, concern, performance.
Now's the time to take advantage of your Dodge dealer's factory authorized clearance. Because right now, you can get 1.9% financing or $1,000 cash back on all hot-selling 87 Aries models in stock. 1.9 or $1,000 back on Aries 2-door. 1.9 or $1,000 back on Aries 4-door. And 1.9 or $1,000 back on Aries wagon. All have front-wheel drive, and all are backed by our 770 protection plan. See your participating Dodge dealer today for low financing or high cash back on Dodge Aries K. The factory authorized clearance right now at your Dodge dealer.
Of course, this is an historic day. We are also approaching the historic moment when 200 years ago, the Constitution was actually signed. We're going to check out now what's going on down at Independence Hall, where Action News reporter Dave Frankel is live. Dave, we expect the appearance, if he hasn't already arrived, of former Chief Justice Warren Burger for this very special ceremony.
He has not arrived as yet, Jim, but we do expect him any minute. And we know one thing, that as late as we're running, as much as a half an hour late, we're going to have to catch up by 4 o'clock, because that's the big moment. That's the moment when 200 years ago the Constitution was signed. We expect quite a ceremony down here this afternoon. Chief Justice Burger, as you said, will be here. He'll be receiving the signatures of some 6 million Americans who have signed a document that says, "This is my Constitution. I'm putting my name on the line." That presentation will be made by 11 youngsters to the former Chief Justice. We're listening now to the Fife and Drum Corps, the Old City Fife and Drum Corps. The delay in starting apparently was in setting up the Liberty Bell replica, which you may be able to see just to the right of the podium there. That will be rung by the Chief Justice and 2 of the children after the ceremony. And now it looks as though it's beginning. Let's go to the podium and Superintendent Hobart Cawood.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hobie Cawood. I'm the superintendent of Independence National Historical Park, and I'd like to welcome you today to this bell ringing and presentation of signatures ceremony. As near as historians can determine, about 4 p.m. on September the 17th, 1787, the 39 signers of the Constitution affixed their signatures to those 4 pages of parchment that has been our government for nearly 200 years. In fact, today, as part of this ceremony, you will see a number of direct descendants of each of the signers of that Constitution. Leviticus 25:10 in the Old Testament says, "And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family." To the Israelites, the 50th year, or the year of the Jubilee, was in fact a rebirth of the whole nation, a year in which property was redistributed, slaves freed, debts canceled, and the inequities of the past 50 years removed. It was a time of celebration. It was appropriate then that in 1751, upon the celebration of the 50th year of William Penn's Charter of Privileges, a government that had brought 50 years of peace, prosperity, and civil liberty, there should be a celebration. And it was at this time that the General Assembly of Pennsylvania ordered a bell from the Whitechapel Foundry in London for the State House, Independence Hall, upon which was requested an inscription from Leviticus 25:10. Proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. That bell is known today as the Liberty Bell, and it is located in its special building just a few feet from us right now. It is a great national symbol that continues to speak to the entire world about liberty, even though it no longer rings. 200 years ago today, after the Constitution had been signed, the Liberty or bell, or the State House bell, rang out the news. And 200 years later, it is appropriate that we celebrate this occasion by bells ringing out the news. The bell beside me is a replica of the Liberty Bell and was cast by Whitechapel Foundry in London, the company that originally cast the Liberty Bell. It has been provided for us today through the generosity of Edward J. Pizak of the Liberty Bell Foundation. The bell up in the tower is the Centennial Bell, placed there in 1876 during the centennial celebration of the Declaration of Independence. And 2.5 blocks away at our visitor center at 3rd and Chestnut Streets is the Bicentennial Bell, also cast by Whitechapel Foundry and presented to the people of the United States by the people of Great Britain on the 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It was officially presented and rung first by Queen Elizabeth II on July the 6th, 1976. Today, smaller bells, musical instruments known as handbells, will introduce the bell ringing scheduled for 4 p.m. Isn't it coincidental and fitting that our handbell choir is known as the Jubilee Ringers? Through the efforts of the Commission for the Celebration of the Bicentennial of the Constitution of the United States, chaired by Chief Justice Warren Burger, this bell ringing will be simultaneously repeated throughout the nation and the world. The ringing of bells is a great way for us to celebrate the Constitution's birthday. Another way to commemorate this event is through an affirmation of our commitment to the Constitution. Millions of Americans have affixed their names to copies of the Constitution, and a representative sample of those will be presented here today. 1 year ago today, a committee was formed by We the People 200 to locate descendants of the signers of the Constitution. After a year of hard work, a committee of 7 located and verified over 250 descendants. These people have come to Philadelphia to participate in what is believed to be the largest gathering of descendants of the signers of the Constitution. We the People and the National Park Service is honored to host the descendants in Philadelphia. Please join me in welcoming 39 direct descendants of the 39 signers of the United States Constitution. Welcome again. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present the architects of today's program, Chief Justice Warren Burger, Chairman of the Commission for the Celebration of the Bicentennial of the Constitution of the United States, and Jacqueline Grennan Wexler, President of the National Conference of Christians and Jews. Please join me in welcoming them. Please be seated. I would now I would like to present to you Jacqueline Grennan Wexler.
Mr. Chief Justice, Mr. Cawood, descendants of the signers and fellow citizens, 200 years ago today, within this very hour, the Constitution of the United States of America was presented for signing in this building before which we stand. The founders had debated and discussed, contested and compromised. The moment had come to lift the quill, and still not all agreed. Some signed with reservations, some didn't sign at all. But 39 founders put their names on the line, entrusted their work to the states, and upon ratification gave to the world a constitutional government of we, the people. The signers and the non-signers agreed to continue to talk, setting the stage for an ongoing dialogue that is the American democracy. That process of dialogue and compromise is the basis of the nationwide sign-on program begun early in 1987 by the National Conference of Christians and Jews. We started in the schools, giving young people the opportunity and the challenge of making trade-offs with each other before putting their names on the line to sustain the constitutional process. The sign-on expanded rapidly, reaching literally millions of students as well as adults. Today, we bring to this hallowed place commitments as true to the constitutional process as those of the founders. The students will present to you, Mr. Chief Justice, the signatures of millions of living Americans who have pledged, "This is my Constitution. I'm putting my name on the line."
Mr. Chief Justice, these replicas of the Constitution bear the names of 200 high school students from across the nation, brought together here in Philadelphia last month by NCCJ. Our conference theme was "Democracy is Us." This is our Constitution.
Represent students in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and in 6 million students have already signed. More are joining us today as others will in the weeks ahead. This is our Constitution.
Mr. Chief Justice, you were the first signer in the NCCJ program. The line behind you grows longer as Americans, young and old, sign up for the future of democracy. This is our Constitution. Happy birthday to the Constitution.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and a privilege to present the Honorable Warren E. Burger.
Director Cawood, fellow Americans, and especially our young fellow Americans here. I have just come from the room back of us where 55 delegates gathered and wrote the Constitution. They were a miscellany of lawyers and merchants and farmers. And they produced what the Prime Minister of England sometime later said was the greatest work on government ever struck off by the hand and mind of man. These delegates, living in the day when travel was by horse power or sailing ships, understood fully that the value of a horse depended on having it in harness along with a bridle, so that the government could pull but not push the people. And that's why they had the concept of 3 branches of government, the separation of powers, so that the government, I repeat, could pull but not push. That is the difference between the government created here 200 years ago and all the governments that went before. And it marked the beginning of the end of the idea of the divine right of kings. This sign-on program, led by Jacqueline Wexler and a great host of American public-spirited people, has brought this Constitution to millions of people. And I hold in my hand the official bicentennial copy of the Constitution, pocket size, and if you would like to have one, you need only write a letter or a postcard addressed Constitution, Washington, D.C., and in due course you will receive it.